So this video is dealing with the multi-asset work order. Just a quick note that multi-asset work orders are mainly used for preventive maintenance or incoming inspections. We don't necessarily advocate that corrective work orders be used because it does tend to, when you're doing your comments, it flags it to all the assets, and also it doesn't usually report very well. So let's stick with preventive maintenance and incoming inspections. Right now, we're going to get right into it. This is a work order new. We're going to switch the form into a multi-asset work order. It was probably because I was tinkering with it. Okay, so then you would just say like it's a PM or incoming inspection. Okay, and then the department and account that it would be under. So hopefully these are all under the same department. If not, then you would have to break them out into each individual department. There's pluses and minuses for multi-asset work order. It's just to reduce the amount of work orders you're generating. But you do need to have them all in the same department. And these are going to be a PM, so I'm going to select it as a preventive maintenance. Oh, incoming inspection. Whoops, close. And the team, of course, will be the same team. So let me save it. So ideally, when you're doing the multi-asset work order, you have your assets right beside you. You would just go into the assets and you'd be adding them. So you would add your asset numbers there. The other thing that you could do is that you could query a bunch of assets and then add them to the multi-asset work order. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to find a whole bunch of Prisma Flexes to add to this work order. And I select all, and I'm going to use my cigarettes at the top there. And there they are. Okay, so now we're going to hit save. And what has happened now is that my multi-asset work order will now have procedures attached to it. So they're all the Prisma Flex that are in there. Now, there's another thing that you need to know. The difference between this and a regular PM is that each asset we're going to do is going to have a different procedure attached to it. So when you open the, oops, so there you go. So there's all the assets. If we go into the left there, we're going to open the checklist. So we did the first one here. This is 23028. We're going to do its readings, and we did all the inspections, yes, and we changed the battery. And maybe you had a comment particularly for this device, and PM passed, and hit OK. And we saved this. If you go into the completion comments, you'll see at the bottom there, it's going to tell you where we're at. So we have one of the 8 assets is complete, and the other 7 that have not been done are listed down below. So that's just telling you why you can't complete and close off this work order, is because these procedures still need to be done. So if you go back into the procedures, you can go into another individual one, and then you do this checklist as well. So this is going to be 185, 2 5s, and you're just going to complete it. And you would do this for all the assets, and you cannot complete this work order until all the assets have been completed. All right, so the other complicating part is the time charges. So when you're adding a time charge, it's different from a basic work order, is that it can, whatever your time charge is going to be divided amongst, by default, is going to be divided amongst all the assets attached to it. So if you were looking at all the Prisma Flexes today in one day, then your time, if I put 7 hours right now, is going to be divided amongst all the assets. So if you look at the assets there, it says all assets. So if we hit save right now, you're going to see that it's going to populate amongst all the assets. So it divided all my 7 hours into 0.88. Let's say I used all my time on one particular asset. So same thing. And I'm going to put my hours, doesn't matter. And I'm going to go charge to. So I did this just for one asset. I would particularly pick that one asset that I was working on. And then you can put your completion comment, you could put in comments there, and it would only flag it to that particular asset. You'll see it in the completion comments, but when you're later looking in its history, it'll actually show up on that particular asset. So if we save that, you'll see that there's two. There's one that's going to be shown for all broken up amongst all the assets, and the one that was in particular for that asset, yeah, you can see it right at the bottom there. Parts. So when you're adding parts to the devices, so we're going to go into new part here. And for the most of the part that you're going to be doing parts on the fly, you go item description. Yes. So here we go. We got a description and the part number, how much it costs. Okay, charge 2. And we wanted to pick it in for an individual asset. So yes, you would have to put each part. So if you're going to replace batteries for all of them, you would put it for each individual asset and hit save. So there we go, battery. And so we can't complete it right now. If you go into the completion right now, if I try to complete it with the assets that were done, it's gonna flag and saying no, you cannot complete the work order. So if we change the status into complete right now, you'll see it alarm. So just to make sure that when you're doing your procedures, that it's going to flag and tell you, okay, so these are the assets that are left to be done. And you have to go back to the procedures and complete all the procedures and the acknowledgements in order for it to be completed. That is a multi-asset work order.